Hello, my friends. It is noon and it is time for our Lunch and Learn, which is our normal Friday happening here at 323 East Main Street in downtown Humble. So for those of you that this might be your first time, I am Dr. Polly Heil-Mealey, and we are located in the Abundant Health and Wellness Clinic in downtown Humble. And Fridays, we like to talk to you about things and give you some educational bits and help you to get on your way to a healthier lifestyle. Now, today we're going to talk about something called autointoxication. So you may not have heard of that. I was talking to a lady this morning and she asked me, she says, that's kind of like drinking and driving. And I said, no, not really like drinking and driving, but it can have some of the same effects. It can kill you. So today we're going to talk about that. So I know people are kind of tuning in and tuning on. So I appreciate you joining. If the signal gets lost and we have to restart, then we will restart, but hopefully not, because I've done all what I can do to make sure that we're getting everything we need to do. So autointoxication, if you saw the Facebook post that announced this conversation, you saw a lot of little poop emojis in the background. And the reason that we did that is because a lot of people are really not educated on how to clean their body. So I've got quite a few bits of paper on my desk. So I want to have a real conversation with you about autointoxication and what it is. So if you look at you do any kind of Google or anything like that, you're going to come across many papers that say autointoxication is not backed up by science and it's nothing but quackery. Well, that's what the mainstream medicine is going to tell you about anything holistic. So hopefully I'm going to allay some of those fears today. So I'm going to just give you some information here. Autointoxication is an ancient theory based on the belief that intestinal waste products can poison the body and are a major contributor to many, if not all, diseases. In the 19th century, there was a ruling doctrine of medicine and led, quote, colonic quackery, unquote, in various guises. Okay, by the turn of the century, it had received some apparent backing from science, but then it became clear that the scientific rationale was wrong. So they're basically going against hydrocolon therapy or colonics. Now, I'm just going to be real honest. Colonics are not my favorite thing. But if you are doing chemotherapy, if you are doing radiation, then we do think that colonics are a good idea. This is not about colonics. Why is it not my favorite thing? Well, it's not my favorite thing because I don't believe that's a natural way to clear the bowel. I believe that your bowel should clean itself from the top down, not from the bottom up. So that's just kind of my take on it. However, if you are doing chemotherapy, chemotherapy is very poisonous. And so we do want you to do colonics in order to get all of that waste product out of the body as fast as possible. You may or may not know that chemotherapy and radiation both stay in the body forever unless you intentionally pull it out, and it will continue to burn you, whether a chemical burn as in chemotherapy or a radiation burn as in radiation. They continue to burn the tissue, so we want to get that out as quickly as possible. So the theory of autointoxication claims that byproducts of incomplete digestion may poison the body and therefore cause disease. It can be traced back to ancient cultures of medicine. In the Western world, humoral medicine was based on the idea that all diseases were caused by the imbalance of 4 bodily humors or liquids. So that would be the bile, the blood, the lymph, and I think the urine is the fourth one, okay? So they said that health consisted of a balance of those humors. Now, Hippocrates, right, who we know is the father of modern medicine, he believed this. Most holistic doctors believe this. Most medical doctors do not believe this. So if you know my clinic, if you know me, you know that we're all about balance. And so this kind of resonates with me, that if our body is not in balance, it's not going to be healthy. Now, I have this little research paper. This is in the Townsend Letter for Doctors and Patients, right? And this is a medical journalist report of Innovative Biologics. That's the name of the magazine that it was in. And it is, the title of the article is The Value of Colon Hydrotherapy Verified by the Medical Professionals that are prescribing it. Now, this is a medical doctor who is saying this, and this is what he says. Moreover, seriously ill patients tend to be chronically constipated, which results in generalized toxemia. It turns out that colon hydrotherapy is the gentlest and most effective treatment to take care of a sick person's constipation problem. My recommendation for cancer patients is that they should undergo frequent colon hydrotherapy procedures to make sure that the colon's toxic burden are being kept to a minimum while their bodies are trying to heal. Says Dr. Smith. While not a substitute for eating a high-fiber diet, these cancer patients who take colon hydrotherapy often experience an elimination of their aches and pains, improvement in appetite, and they tolerate a tough healing process better. So this is a medical doctor that is saying if you've got cancer and different things, and he does use colon hydrotherapy. Again, I'm not necessarily recommending that. What I wanted you to hear is from his point of view, the bowel being toxic is the cause of most sickness and disease. So I just want to kind of throw that out there, okay? This doctor says that the patient's toxins tend to kick back into their bloodstreams to perpetuate numerous pathologies such as candidiasis, allergies, chronic fatigue, and other symptoms coming from the recirculation of accumulated physiological poisons. So this is what autointoxication is. So when I first got into the healthcare business, I was doing it as a hobby. I had heard a lady on Christian television say that she had stage 4, some kind of cancer. I don't remember what the kind was, but she had stage 4 cancer, and she was sent home from her doctor, told to prepare her will and get ready to die. She had about 2 weeks to live. So she went on a very, very intensive program of juicing. She consumed nothing but juice, probably 2 to 4 quarts a day. Now, this is not the juice that you buy at the grocery store. This is the juice that you make yourself with a juicer. And she was still alive a bunch of years later. I don't remember how many, but I was listening to this radio program, and I think this was back in 1997. Maybe it was even earlier than that. Anyway, I came home and told my husband, you know, why do we wait till we get sick before we start doing things that are healthy for our bodies? And so I remember that next month was my birthday, and he bought me a juicer for my birthday, and so we've been juicing kind of ever since. Before that, I read a book that was talking about autointoxication, and it said that if you moved your bowels 2 to 3 times a day, then you would go a long way into alleviating cancer. Now, I had conversations with friends for years. I was a mom, I had young kids, and everybody knows that you've got to pay real attention to bathroom habits and all that kind of thing with your children. But nobody really talks about bathroom habits when you get to be an adult. So, just to kind of bring you up to speed, when you have a baby, and most of us probably are mothers or will be mothers or have had experience babysitting. When you have a newborn and you feed that baby, as soon as you feed the baby, what happens? Within probably 20 minutes, you have to change a dirty diaper, and that is just the way things are supposed to work. So what we know in the healthcare industry, certainly in holistic healthcare, is that we want you to have a very quick bowel transit time. So what does that mean? That means from the time you eat your food to the time you get rid of the waste products from that food, we want that to be less than 24 hours. We want it to be 18 to 24 hours. So there is a test called the, what is it called? Oh, bowel transit time test. I had to think about what it was called. And it is we'll post this on the page so you can do this at home. Anyway, it is a way that you can eat specific foods and you can actually see how long it takes for that particular meal to leave the body. Most people have a longer bowel transit time than 18 to 24 hours. So what does that mean? Well, think about your kitchen. When you're in the kitchen and you are cooking your meals and you're throwing all the organic trash in the trash can, most of us take the trash out at the end of the evening because why? That food is in the trash can and it's going to decompose and rot and smell, and it's going to be attractive for critters. So that could be roaches or spiders or ants or whatever. And so most of us will take the trash out nightly so that we alleviate the pest problem. Well, your body is the same. So when you are moving your bowels, what are you doing? You're getting rid of things that are inside the body that the body has no use for. So this is something that needs to be done, like I said, within an 18 to 24 hour transit time, because if you're not, quote unquote, taking out the trash regularly, then what you're going to have is organic matter in the bowel that is going to provide a food source for critters. Parasites, amoebas, yeast, fungus, all that kind of thing. So it's very, very important, and we don't talk about this. I remember being a very young mom. We lived in McAllen, and we were very active in our church, and I had a friend, and she had 2 kids. I think she had 3 kids, and I had 2 children. And we were talking about going to the bathroom with the kids and whatnot. And she said she went to the bathroom. She moved her bowels once every 2 weeks. And her doctor said that was normal for her. Well, I kind of thought, that's probably not a good idea. But if your doctor tells you that's normal, then are you going to do anything about it? No, you're not going to do anything about it. Most people, most adults do not move their bowels 2 to 3 times a day, every day. Because of that, we're very, very at risk for what I call auto-intoxication. So, I'm giving you a little bit of information on that, and I'm going to give you some more information. We've seen this picture before, but we're going to see it again. I appreciate everybody that's logging on. My scroll isn't scrolling up, so I may not be getting you. So on this little page here, we've got digestion, you absorb your nutrients, you have health, you have energy and repair, and then you've got health. And then you've got nothing around this circle. On this circle, you've got digestion that is poor, you've got toxicity, you've got inflammation, and then you've got imbalance in the body, which leads to all of these diseases. And so we know that the gut, which includes your stomach, your small intestine, and your bowel, all of that is your digestive system. So a lot of times people will say, I'll ask people and I'll say, well, how are you digesting your food? And they'll say, well, I go to the bathroom once a day, once every 2 weeks, or whatever they say. And I'll say, I'm not talking about elimination, I'm talking about digestion. So digestion, right, begins in the mouth. And then the food goes down to the stomach where it gets masticated, and you get all kinds of gastric juices that go in there to kind of break up the food. If you are not having enough stomach acid, then you're not going to break down that food. If the food is not broken down properly, then big food chunks are going to go into the small intestine, and the small intestine is where your enzymes go in and pull up all of the nutrition so that your body can get what it needs. So if you don't have adequate stomach acid, you take protein pump inhibitors, then you're not going to be able to absorb all of your nutrients. If you don't absorb all of your nutrients in the small intestine, then when you go to move your bowels are going to be really nasty and messy, right? So the messy part is that you're not absorbing all of the nutrition from your food, right? So what we want to do is get your body in a state where you're absorbing all of your nutrition, and the only thing that's leaving the body is the part of the food products that you're not able to utilize, and we want to make sure that it leaves the body within 18 to 24 hours. So I've said a lot there, okay? So let me give you some medical evidence that proves autointoxication, okay? So I'm going to kind of go a little bit different, but then I'm going to come back, and hopefully you're going to be able to add 2 and 2 and get 4 and not 18 if I do my job right. So this is my goal here. So one of the things that you may be seeing quite a lot in the social media or on the news or whatever is something called leaky gut syndrome. Now, one of my mentors who I love says there's no such thing as leaky gut, because if your gut leaked, you'd be dead. He calls it passive leaky gut syndrome. So I want to be, correct in the terminology, but I'm going to tell you exactly what that means, because this is something that we see a lot of. Okay, so this is from WebMD. So this is not holistic medicine. This is medicine, okay? WebMD says leaky gut syndrome is said to have symptoms including bloating, gas, cramps, food sensitivities, aches, and pains. But it is something of a medical mystery. From an MD standpoint, this is a very gray area, says gastroenterologist Dr. Donald Kirby. He is the director for the Center of Human Nutrition at the Cleveland Clinic. Now, anybody that knows the Cleveland Clinic is just way up there, okay? Physicians don't know enough about the gut, which is our biggest immune system organ. So this is something that the medical doctor says we don't know. We just don't know. He goes on to say, leaky gut syndrome is not a diagnosis that is taught in medical school. Instead, and this is a quote, leaky gut really means you've got a diagnosis that still needs to be made. You hope that your doctor is good enough at being Sherlock Holmes, but sometimes it is very hard to make a diagnosis. So another medical doctor, Dr. Linda Lee, says, we don't know a lot, but we do know that it exists. She is also a gastroenterologist, and she is the director of the Johns Hopkins Integrative Medical and Digestive Center. She says, in the absence of evidence, we don't know what it means or what therapies can address it. So this is huge, 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 that the medical profession is now starting to see that leaky gut syndrome is really a thing. It's not all in your head. It really is a thing. So this is what she says. A possible cause of leaky gut is increased intestinal permeability or intestinal hyperpermeability. So we know that this happens when the tight junctions in the gut, which controls what passes through the lining of the small intestines, do not work properly. This lets substances leak into the bloodstream. People with celiac disease or Crohn's disease experience this. Molecules can get across in some cases, such as Crohn's, but we don't really know all the causes, Lee says. Whether hyperpermeability is more of a contributing factor or a consequence is unclear. So you can see here on this site, a medical doctor is saying, we are seeing molecules cross through the intestinal barrier that should not be there. So I'm going to break it down, all of the medical jargon, so help you understand, and then you can see what's going on in your own body. So in the body, the very first thing to be formed when you are an embryo is that you have this tube. It's the GI tube. The GI tube is full of mucus. It's got a mucus lining all the way through, and it protects the skin or the tissues. It protects it from all of the acid that is in the body, your hydrochloric acid that's in the stomach, all of your gastric juices and all that kind of stuff. When this mucous membrane becomes porous, so that's permeable or hyperpermeable, okay? When it becomes porous, then the small little molecules of protein from the food pass through that into the body. The blood sees it, the body sees it, and it acts as if it is a foreign substance. Your immune system is going to produce a histamine response, an inflammatory response. And so what that's going to do is cause you to feel yucky. You're going to have cramps, you're going to have bloating, you're going to have food allergies, you're going to maybe have diarrhea, a lot of flatulence, all that kind of stuff, which is a symptom of this hyperpermeability, right? So we know, we're going back to autointoxication, right? When you have food stuff that is in the small intestine, the waste products that is in the large intestine longer than it needs to be, then that provides an organic food source for amoebas, parasites, and yeast. I am absolutely certain that leaky gut syndrome is a breakdown of the mucous membrane in the gut, and it gets invaded by yeast, okay? The yeast pokes holes in the mucous membrane, which allows the food particles to traverse that barrier and get into the body in the wrong place, and it causes an inflammatory process. That yeast sets up residence in there, and it provides a host for a lot of different things. Now, we know in holistic medicine that everything exists as a courtesy to everything else, okay? That means in your internal environment, if you're vibrating at the right frequency, then you're not going to have a place for parasites, fungus, virus, candida, any of those kind of things, because your vibrational frequency is going to be at a high enough I'm going to say volume, that's not the right word, at a high enough level that you're going to repel lower vibrational forms. So a virus is lower, a germ is lower, a parasite is lower. These are all lower life forms on the vibrational frequency list, right? So that's a lot. And you're going, what? Okay, so a human body vibrates, a healthy human body vibrates between 75 and 85 hertz. Cancer vibrates in the 50s, right? So if you are constantly vibrating at that high level, then cancer, which is a lower level life form, won't be able to penetrate. Okay, does that make sense? Viruses, germs, cancer, anything like that. If you have your vibrational frequencies up, then nothing else is going to be able to take hold and take root in that. When you are not cleaning your system, then you have these other life forms. You have created an opportunistic environment for these other life forms that come in and they drag your vibrational frequencies down, and then you get sick. You get autoimmune diseases and you can get cancer. So this is what we don't want. So there's leaky gut, and there was something else I wanted to talk about, and it was a real medical thing, and I don't know exactly where my paper is right now. Okay. So we're just going to kind of figure out something else to talk about. Okay, so this is a research paper, okay? This is the effects of nutrition and enzyme therapy on gastrointestinal dysfunction. Gastrointestinal dysfunction leads to leaky gut syndrome. Gastrointestinal dysfunction leads to autointoxication. So this is a research paper that was done here in Houston. It was actually, I think there were 29 different patients that we did this on. We didn't do it. Transformation Enzyme Corporation did it. And I think they did it in conjunction with Baylor University. So if you know anything about Baylor University, you know that it's a great thing. And this is, like I say, this is a research paper that showed that with the proper nutrition and the proper enzyme therapy that you can actually get rid of leaky gut syndrome and you can get rid of autointoxication. So what do I want you to take away today? I want you to take away that if you're not moving your bowels 2 to 3 times a day, every day, you probably are poisoning yourself. So this is one of the things that we work on here at the clinic. We want you to be pooping 2 to 3 times a day, okay, without fail. We've looked at these products before. This is Cleanse. This is my favorite, LBS2. And then we've got the Liquid Cleanse. We've talked about that. I don't want to talk about that anymore. We've also got this little Thrive in 63. Now, Thrive in 63, this is a booklet that showed that picture, right? This is Thrive in 63. Thrive in 63 is a 3-phase autointoxication cleanup kit, okay? You've got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and it is enzymes and probiotics that go in there, rebuild that mucus covering in the small intestine and in the large intestine so that we get rid of this. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And so we've had a lot of success with this. All of those symptoms, bloating, diarrhea, pain, food sensitivities, all that just go away in 63 days. You do have to have a huge change in lifestyle. You do have to have a huge change in menu. However, it's only for 63 days and you feel oh so much better. And you even lose weight. It's not part of a weight loss plan, but you do lose weight. Why is that? Because inflammation, right, which is what autointoxication leads to. Inflammation causes you to pack on the pounds. So when we get that inflammatory process reversed, then we're able to move forward. And then another product we have is glutamine complex, PLGU. Now I want to read what this doctor says. Let me see if I can find that paper. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you too. Okay. So this is this doctor, Dr. Lee, still saying. She says, we are in the infancy of understanding what to do. People are making claims about what to do and are doing it without evidence. One example, many websites offer information on leaky gut, recommending taking L-glutamine supplements to strengthen the lining of the small intestine. Lee says that theoretically it makes sense given the glutamine's role in the intestinal function, but there's no research to back up such claims. Well, there actually is. We've got this bit of research, we've got all kinds of research, and this is excellent. And what does it have in it? It's got L-glutamine in there, and it's not bright enough for me to read everything else. But it's got, I think it's got artichoke in it. It's got all kinds of things that rebuilds the mucous membrane in the GI tract. So anybody that has ulcers, anybody that has Crohn's, anybody that has IBS, anybody that has any kind of gastrointestinal ulcer needs to be looking at this because it's absolutely brilliant. The other medical thing I wanted to tell you about, and I know I only have 5 minutes, so bear with me here, is something called SIBO, S-I-B-O. SIBO is, it stands for small intestine bacteria overgrowth, right? So you've got good guys in the gut and you've got bad guys in the gut. The good guy are the lactobacillus, the acidophilus, Saccharomyces boulardii, all of these good bacteria that are in the gut. When we eat an acid-forming diet, which is the standard American diet, or SAD for short, then what we are doing is we are introducing a lot of acidic foods into the gut, which eat away the, they don't eat away, but they are a food source for your yeast and your fungus and your molds, which eat away your mucus lining. So SIBO is a real condition. There's a breath test that you can take to see that you do have SIBO. SIBO is a result of autointoxication. So even though the medical professions are saying there's no such thing as autointoxication, on the other side they're saying, yes, we've got passive leaky gut, we don't know what it is, it's not taught in medical schools, but we're seeing that it's a real thing. And yes, we've got SIBO, small intestine bowel bacteria overgrowth, and we know that it's a real thing, but we don't really know what to do about it. So hopefully I've given you a lot of information, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. We will answer again on the page, or we'll try and do something moving forward. I know I did have a reach out asking if we had talked about autoimmune disease, and yes, we have, and we will continue. The autointoxication is something that happens before you get to that autoimmune condition. And so if we get the bowel moving 2 to 3 times a day, every day, we're going to be able to alleviate a lot of these things. So gonna leave that with you right there. Just letting you know, next week on Friday, I will be in our clinic in Laredo, so I may or may not be able to do Facebook Live. It just depends on what the day looks like. So if I miss next week, you'll know why. And hopefully I'll see you soon. Have a great weekend. Enjoy these last few weeks of summer before the kids go back. Thanks everybody for joining us and tuning in. It makes my day to see you pop in, even though I'm not able to speak to that or address you or welcome you personally. I do appreciate you stopping by, and hopefully you've learned something. Take care, God bless, and I'll see you next week or maybe the week after because I'm traveling. Bye, guys.